This is really interesting. I thought I went live at 5:15 and was going to just post the video onto Facebook and realized I couldn't find it anywhere. So I'm going to assume that I made a mistake. I definitely have a fried brain this Friday, so that seems very possible to me. I'm sorry. And if we find there are two versions of this video, I apologize double. But what I want to chat with you briefly tonight was another book recommendation. I know I talked about reading yesterday, and Carrie gave some really nice recommendations earlier this week. But I think there's a favorite spiritual reading of mine that's just even more suited for quarantine, and that is this book, Happy Are You Poor by Father Thomas Tobias. And the reason I think it's so well suited for quarantine is it essentially talks about what is the difference between our wants and our needs. And when we misconstrue our wants as needs, we misorder our orientation, and it hurts how we understand God's relationship with everything else in its hierarchy, right? Because everything has its right place, its right order. And, he talks about different things like married life, single life, religious vocations, and different temptations we might fall into. But why I think it's a particularly important book in quarantine is I think many of us are having to renegotiate our ideas of wants and needs. Like, do you think that you need to eat out a certain number of times a week? Do you need to, go to this vacation, whatever? And the reality is that we don't. We need shelter, we need food, we need our loved ones. And quarantine, for better or worse, is forcing us to recognize the true hierarchy of goods, our health, and our ability to take care of ourselves and our families. And as many of you, I think, experience, I have a home, I'm able to feed myself. And that is in and of itself a blessing and one that shouldn't be taken for granted. I know that, for example, there are many people in our community who are not afforded that gift. And so I'd encourage all of us to think about, kind of to JC's point earlier on social justice, how are we engaging in helping to clothe and feed those who cannot clothe and feed them and shelter themselves? And I'm sure there are lots of local food banks wherever you are. In particular, Sacred Heart partners with Bainbridge. You can drop off donations every day that the church is open in the evenings or Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Bainbridge itself is open. And I would ask us to really think about not only giving from our excess, but partially giving out of our need. Because isn't that what we're called to do? Think of the widow's mite. She gave everything she had to God. And in this time of quarantine, I hope that we're figuring out ways to peel back the layers to better understand our true need, which really is just God. Everything else falls out from there. And so I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite quotes, if not my absolute favorite quote from this book. Again, this is Happy Are You Poor by Father Tobias. And great thank you to Kevin, a once fellow parishioner at Sacred Heart, who gave me this book. But anyway, this is near the end. We basically hunger not for things, but for everything. We thirst not for drips and dabs, but for the originating fountain. Our deepest hungers are not for food and drink, not for amusements and recreation, not for property and wardrobes, not for notoriety and gossip. We hunger for truth. We thirst to drink beauty. We yearn to celebrate. We seek to delight. We stretch out to love and to be loved. That is why anything less than everything is not enough. Thanks again for joining me, Sacred Heart. I apologize if I have posted things twice, but I hope you have a great weekend. Maybe you can snuggle up with a book on this cold and rainy evening, but we will chat again soon. Bye.